It's around 15 degrees out. We're in another little cold spell temporarily. I'm guessing that's probably stolen. The Hall Signal Company. Oh, somebody's lost their head, literally. Well, that is certainly interesting. You want to see for yourself? I don't know if it's doable from here. I'm really in a mess here. Here she is. I don't know if I could do it. I'm starting to doubt myself. Today's video brings me to a specific location. We're going to be focusing on this tree line that parallels these active railroad tracks. This location, though, was actually recommended to me by one of my viewers. Someone did reach out to me with some screenshots and some coordinates and some details because he used to be in this area when he was younger and said back in the day, this tree line didn't look like this. It looked much different. And there were some things back here related to the old railroad days. But here in 2025, is there anything still left? Well, I'm curious, and there's only one way to find out. If you want to find out as well, then just come along with me. I'm picking this as a starting point because, as you can see, we have an old freight depot right here. That road behind me where the vehicles are is Bowman Street in Dixon City. So in case you want to follow along, you're starting off in Bowman and heading south, paralleling these train tracks which are operated by DL, Delaware-Lackawanna. But as I cross over and show you, we have something from the D&H, Delaware and Hudson, a caboose right here. It says the bridge line to New England and Canada, the D&H. It is posted, so they don't want anyone climbing on it, but it's sitting here on a dead-end siding right here at the old freight depot here. Big sliding door here. Back in the day, there would have been a set of tracks located right here, so box cars can pull up next to it to load and unload. Looks like it has seen better days, but it is still an active building. It is not abandoned. And here's a closer look at the caboose here. Really faded, but still holding on quite well. It's not terribly old as it doesn't have the journal boxes, or as they're known as the hot boxes. I think those are just more traditional roller bearings. Binghamton Terminal and number 35712. I was fascinated with cabooses. There's always different types and styles. It's got the cupola up there. And as we've learned, these are basically an office and sleeping quarters and even a kitchen for the conductors and crewmen on the old steam train days. And it's even sitting here along a dock, loading dock, with some type of apparatus here. Looks like maybe an old scale. And this leads right into the depot there. So this siding that's sitting on comes right off of the main track right down there. There's a switch. And some of the older map images I've looked at, there was actually a few rail cars sitting on this line at one time. And as we could expect, there was going to be more than one track here. At least one here, maybe even two. And then on the other side as well. So only one exists today, one's still in use, but as we're going to learn, that was not the case back in the day. It's a nice shot from the front here. They got a clock there, the flag, and still decorated for Christmas time. Crossing gates, and we're going to cross the road. This is where we're going to be heading into the heart of our journey, specifically this tree line area, as I mentioned. Now, it's going to be really difficult to try to find anything because it is so overgrown and so thick, but that is going to be our main focus. And as you can see in front of us here, we could tell there was another line here, the same line that would have went right next to that depot. The old ties are still here. Now, as we do walk along here, I do want to share some information with you. Now, prior to coming here, I did do just a little bit of research, pulled up a couple of the older maps. And on the 1939 map, that depot was there. And this area that we're walking along now, this wooded area, looked significantly different. there was numerous rail lines here. And when I say numerous, I mean numerous. There was probably at least half a dozen. And it appears to be an old, or a, well, it was old at the time, but more or less a holding yard for gondola cars. Basically, a waiting area for cars to be loaded up at the colliery that would have been further down here, which we will talk about a little bit later on. With the help of the Rail Guide app, and just to mention too, people always ask in the comments, what's the name of the app? Well, the app name is Rail Guide. And as far as I know, it's only available on the Android Google Play Store. But it's just named Rail Guide, nothing else. That is the name of the app. But it is incredibly helpful. And looking on this, which I'll share the screen images with you, this area was just loaded with tracks, both to my right, specifically over here to my left. Now, it's hard to believe, but at one time there was 3 different railroad companies that operated in this specific area. So the area where we are right now, including these active tracks, was back in the day used by and operated by Delaware and Hudson. Not really a surprise because we saw the D&H caboose back there. The section in the woods right here was NY, O, and W, New York, Ontario, and Western. And then furthest in, closest to where that garbage truck is, was a line called the O, C, and S, Ontario, Carbondale, and Scranton. Now our primary focus is going to be the NY, O, and W, New York, Ontario, and Western. That was several tracks that resided here in the wooded section here, which is more or less a temporary holding yard from my understanding. The gentleman who did reach out to me said he saw a lot of tracks back here. He even saw train cars, specifically gondola cars, sitting on those tracks. They were either loaded or unloaded, but they were being used for the colliery site that I mentioned down past 81. And that is the primary focus today, is that section of tracks that we're going to try to trace through the woods. The other thing I noticed too is, going back to the older maps further down, which we're going to walk towards, is there was numerous bridges. There was a bridge where the lines went over the Lackawanna River. There was also a bridge that crossed over another section of train tracks. I don't know if there's any remnants of those today, but we're going to search those areas to try to find out. So without wasting more time, we're going to hop up here in the woods and document different sections of it as we make our way south. No surprise here, we got a jumbled pile of telegraph poles. All the insulators are stripped. They would have been screwed onto here, which these are screwed on to those posts right there. Actually, there's a couple, oh, actually, here we go. It's broken, but it's an insulator. Got the letter B on it. It's got the wood still stuck in it. So there are still some hiding around here. I'm sure if you come through here with a fine-tooth comb, you'll be able to find some more of them. And of course, we're going to find ties. We may find some plates, some spikes, some J-hooks. Let's veer off, get up here in the tree line here, and see what it looks like. Now, obviously, this land has been altered since those railroad days. But who's to say that we may not find something still existing back here? Looks like more or less right now just some game paths. There's a few ties laying here. It looks like everything has been ripped up. I don't see any tracks in place here, but there would have been just numerous tracks all the way over probably to the people's property lines right there. And I think that's maybe where that last OC and S line was, but there was at least a half dozen tracks coming through here. So I'm going to do my best to navigate through. If I do find something of significance, definitely will share it with you, but I have a feeling we're not going to see too much around here. It is pretty barren and pretty thick at the same time. So it's going to be far and few between our findings, but it's still worth documenting because, oh, nature's raisins right there. And part of a doll. At least we know this area is abandoned. I think it is worth documenting because there is going to be probably something worth finding. We just have to get out and find it. So I'm going to make some progress, and I'll see you somewhere further down there. There's a definite elevation change here. I don't know if it was like that all the time or if that happened over time. But that's probably a good 6 to 8 feet lower than where we're standing up here. And nowadays, this is just an area where people are just dumping brush and also some garbage, unfortunately. But this could have been the normal elevation for these holding tracks up here. Can't rule that out. It's a cold day for those garbage men. It's around 15 degrees out. We're in another little cold spell temporarily. And it's about a 10-mile-per-hour breeze. It is blustery out here. As long as I keep moving, I'm okay. My nose is a little cold. Fingertips are a little bit cold, but otherwise doing fine. Thankfully, the snow finally melted in this area. There's only some patches here and there. But further north, there's definitely still quite a few inches lingering behind. I think I just found a gumball machine or something. Look at that. Looks like it's brand new. Top part's missing. Guess the change would collect in there. And it would dispense right there. I'm guessing that's probably stolen. And I bet you a lot of people that live in this area never knew what once existed here unless they were born and raised in this area, like the individual who did reach out to me. Because today, it looks like nothing more than just a wooded section between neighborhoods. Oh, look what I just found. Do you see that? Here's something from the old days. Oh, it's sitting right here along the active line. Looks like maybe an old signal. Something would have been posted under here. It's opened up. The door is missing from it. The Hall Signal Company, New York and Chicago. And it's got a number 45.30 right there. It's a rusty relic. Yeah, without a doubt, had signals on it. Looks like it had maybe 3 different ones. I can see 3 different brackets right there. And it's got like a spire on top. Looks like maybe conduit too coming out for each one. So it was an electronic signal from back in the day. And just imagine when this was here, there was much more than just this. It was loaded with lines in here. Although they weren't used actively, it's just everywhere you looked in this area would have been train tracks. That is a pretty neat finding. Glad to see it's still existing and unique from others I've seen before. It's not a traditional signal. It's not a signal bridge that would go up, over, and down. Just a single tower here with 3 different signal points from New York and Chicago. I almost missed it too. I just turned around and nothing important, but something from the old days. Something was laying on top of there. 2 concrete pillars, anchor bolts coming out. There is a plate right there, but that's most likely from this line here when they did some track work. So, neat little finding. We're going to keep moving. We're going to be coming up to another road up here. I'll let you know what that is once we do cross over it. And then we're going to continue on to another section of woods, heading towards 81, heading towards the old breaker site, which we're not going to walk that far down to, but we're going to get to the area of where those bridges would have been. And we'll see if anything is still hiding out there in modern day. Standing on the other side of the tracks now, I did notice something else. So what I originally thought was a signal post, still could be, but I think it maybe had another purpose. And it may or may not be related to those concrete little posts right there. I believe back in the day there was a switch here in this area, and the reason I know that is because as I turn around and show you, veering off of the main line here are rail ties branching off to the left in that direction. So I'm thinking that that post may or may not have been just for signals. It may have been for which line was active or switched on. So maybe that could help some of you clarify or solidify your theories or thoughts. I'm probably about 60-40 that post was for the switch rather than just a regular signal. Well, somebody's lost their head, literally. A lot of holes I'm noticing too, animal holes. So far, nothing up here in this area as far as what we saw, just a few ties, telegraph poles, and the old signal, which is not up here. These are a pair of legs. You can build a body out here. It looks like maybe from the guy from Toy Story, the astronaut. They really ripped up everything out of this section of line here, and it looks like there is a path or a trail system. So that'll make my navigation a bit easier. And there's a pretty large building off to the left, which evidently this path is going to take us right to it. That looks pretty old. May or may not be related to the old railroad days or mining days. There is some old lettering. Let's see if I could make it out what it says. Hard to make out, but it looks like Bliss, B-L-I-S-S. Looks like maybe B-E-K something. I-N-G company. I can't make it out. It's too far faded. But it's like Bliss something ging company. Neat looking building. And it's situated right here, pretty close to the train tracks. Now we do have another road crossing, as I mentioned. So we're going to see what this is. Crossover, and maybe we'll have more luck on that side over there. Well, I did confirm we are now at Bowman Street or Bowman Street. And this building is now known as the Lofts at Bowman. But it must have been something else back in the day. Anyone familiar with this? If you know if it has any ties to the railroad or mining days, share it down below. Well, now I have a choice to make on where I want to navigate, because that's where we just came from. That wooded section crossed over Bowman Street. And there's a culvert passage here with some water coming out, creating a little canal here. So I don't know if I want to stay on this side of it or that side of it. That side is obviously harder to navigate, but we probably have the best chance of finding anything still hiding out there. So I'm going to take a look at it, see if it's doable. If it is, we'll continue on that side. If not, we'll stay close to the edge on this side. Well, it looks like this is going to be doable for now. And I found the SS Minnow. It's no longer giving a 3-hour tour. I think this is the outskirts of people's properties, although nothing is posted or marked off. And we have a vehicle up here, which I don't know if the trail is going to continue past that. May have to back up and get back down. But looking at the ground here, there's still nothing showing that tracks existed here, even though they did. More telegraph poles there. And we are now behind, or coming upon a business. I think I know what this is. I think that might be a hospital. And I think I may want to get down lower because there is something right down there. Well, 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 what did we find here? I think I know what this is or was. Maybe you can help me confirm that. What I can tell you though, it's been here for a long, long time because there's a tree growing directly through it. I'm thinking this is, well, I'm pretty certain it's a train signal. And I'm thinking maybe it was part of a signal bridge. What we're looking at is basically the top parts of the signal. So the base of it's down there. There's a ladder that would crawl up, the catwalk, and there's different little platforms here. And now I've seen these before, but just a single pole with just like one section here. I haven't seen like this. It's leading me to believe it could be a part of a signal bridge, or just maybe a really large signal that didn't go over the tracks. I'm about 95% certain it's definitely a signal. I just don't know which type. But look at the tree. It literally grew right between those bars. And this is locked in here solid. It's not going anywhere. Even this one here. It's amazing how trees adapt. It doesn't care what's there. It's going to grow regardless of what's stopping it. It's just going to press on and overcome it and turn out to be a tall, healthy tree. I'm only seeing one support, one post. So either the other one was removed or it never had one. If it had another one, then that would make sense. It would have been a bridge going up and over the tracks. We'll investigate a little bit more and see if we can determine that. But I have, like I said, seen these before. I remember me and RJ checked out one where he actually climbed up and was standing on an upper section, and it was actually still intact along the rails. So that's why I do know what it is. And here is, oh, I thought that was an insulator. It's rubber. Definitely not the first people to find it. It is heavily tagged up on the bottom side there. There is the base itself that would have been mounted onto the ground with some anchor bolts on a foundation. The ladder to climb up. And I'm guessing it was somewhere in this area since it's laying here on the side. I don't think it had another post because that's the only one here. It's got supports coming out from the sides. And there's no evidence that there was another post here. So I think this is just one large signal. And I wonder if it had an individual that would have been on top of it doing things manually, since it has the catwalk and those different little platforms. Huh. It's strange because it's so familiar to me, but yet I can't easily identify exactly what it was used for other than a type of signal. And I could be off on that. It may have been something else, but all evidence is pointing towards an old signal. Based on what I've showed you, if you could identify it otherwise or give more details as to exactly what that is or what it was used for, please share it down below. But we're at least finding things. We're not finding rails. We're not finding spikes or plates, except for that one, but I don't think that was an anomaly. That was probably from the track here. But what I can tell you though is we were veering away from that holding yard. Looking on the rail guide app and the older map, it kind of pinched off the rail yard. So it was wider towards where we started by the depot, and eventually the rails kind of ended as they got closer down to this area. On top of that, there is something up here that I remember the individual was telling me about, and it may be confirmation to something I mentioned earlier. I don't want to speak too soon, so let's get up closer to it and see if we could connect those dots. So just to bring you up to speed, roughly 30-40 yards down there is that steel signal that we're presuming to be laying in the woods there. We're further down and now we're starting to see some concrete. And this looks like maybe a culvert. That looks inviting. I think I may need to investigate that. Beyond that though, you can see a wall here. And as I keep panning over, the wall raises in elevation and there's something on the other side. I believe this is an old bridge abutment. I think this is one of two of them I showed you on the 1939 map. As I said, there was a line that came over an active line. This is the active line. So that line would have went right across the top of it there. I'm going to see maybe about getting up on top of here, see if there's any evidence left. But the hospital's right up there. And I don't know if we'll be able to climb up on top of there. But at the very least, we could get over there and walk around it and see if there's any clues we could pick out to help identify dates or something else. But before we do all that, I'm going to get my flashlight and investigate that. Ooh, that's an icy bottom. Oh, there's a big wheel down here too, like a cart wheel. Not the kind of cart wheel like that, like a wheel off a cart that you would push. I'll give you some footage of that once I do come back out, but I gotta safely get in here. Ooh, this startled me. I broke through the ice. All right, so this is discharge going under the tracks, which I believe is maybe spilling out towards the river, but this goes under the tracks as a culvert. This is going straight up in this direction. I do have a flashlight, so let me investigate. I'm not sure how far we could go, but I am curious. Well, that is certainly interesting. You want to see for yourself? All right, come on. All right, so we're inside now. There is the cart wheel I was telling you about. Looks pretty old, probably about 6 to 8 inch diameter. And there's looking straight through. So it's clear straight underneath the train tracks, made out of concrete. And here is our discharge area right here, looking into the darkness. And it's deceiving because it looks like it dead ends, but it doesn't. I'm going to be hunched over, so just don't mind the breathing. So it's poured concrete, which is washed away here. It eroded the bottom right away. Now, above me here is interesting. There's wooden planks. Those are planks of wood set there with like tongue and groove. It is undermined here, which is not good. Got to step up and over this. You can actually hear a vehicle running above me. So here it goes about a 45-degree angle. I thought it stopped here, but it doesn't. It continues straight out in that direction. I'll try to zoom in for you there. And it just gets smaller and smaller. And I believe that would lead up towards the parking lot of the hospital. So I think this is storm drainage from the parking lot. And, excuse me, back here, it's an older section. It is primarily made out of stone. Stone on the bottom, stone on the top, and the sides. And there's a decent echo. You can hear the reverberation. But this is older workings back here, an older culvert system. And I don't know how far it goes. I don't have any really need to know how far it goes because that's not our primary focus today. And it's just going to get smaller like it traditionally does on culverts. It's obviously smallest where it enters, largest where it discharges. But to guesstimate, probably goes at least 30, 40 feet, at least that I can see. There is a small chance it could link up with something else, but without having knee pads and elbow pads and the willingness to go ahead today on such a cold day to do that, may not know the answer to that. But if there is interest in me returning to this and crawling back there, well, leave your feedback down below in the comments. And just to show you as I turn the light off, almost pure darkness except for the sunlight, daylight coming in behind me here as I turn around. That's what it looks like. There may be a train coming. I'm gonna get up here on this embankment, get plenty of room. There might be a train coming. Oh, I got duped. That was a motorcycle up on Main Street there. It's in there idling. It sounded like the rumble of a diesel engine. No train coming, but since we're up here, let's head up a little bit higher towards that embankment wall, the abutment wall I should say, and see if there's anything left behind showing rails. All right, so before I got down, it's too faint to pick up a microphone, but I do hear a train horn. Sounds like behind me. There still may be a train coming. Also, I did find the smallest of little pathways here taking me towards the top of that abutment wall. So there's looking down to the active line. And here is the top of it. I don't know if that is original or that was dumped here. But as we come through underneath this little canopy, just watch your eyes. This is, oh, that's ice. And a lot of things that could poke you in the face. Duck, duck. Okay, got a little bit of a vantage point here. Okay, that's the best view I could give you. Looking here at the top of the abutment wall. See the other one across the way there? So it came over diagonally at an angle. This is just a wall. So where it actually crossed would be over there. I want to get over there. I don't know if it's doable from here. I'm really in a mess here. I think I'm going to retrace my steps, get back down to the ground. If anything, maybe try to come up the other side. Like I'm so close, I can see where I want to go, but between here and there, it is a real mess. I'm going to see if I can find a way from here. If not, we'll get back down on the ground and keep moving. I'm stubborn, but it paid off. I climbed over and through all that, over the wall here, and now standing on the inside lip. I just didn't feel like going back down and not knowing if there was access, so we're now where we want to be. Just got to be careful here because the drop off here would not be a fun one. So, unfortunately, the payoff wasn't worth it. Tracks came right across here. So at least we can see visually where the train would have went. But there's nothing here at all. And that embankment wouldn't have been here. That was altered when they built the hospital and the parking lot up there. So anything that would have been here is either ripped up or buried. I think there actually might be a train coming this time. I'm not incorrect, I don't think. Yeah, so here's a lower lip. It may have actually crossed right here. Yeah, I hear a train horn. Let's get some visibility here. I think we're going to see a train. All right, came over here to the lip of the wall. Nice clearing here. And I hear it approaching. Should be DL, Delaware Lackawanna freight train. Here she is. Two Alco units heading south back to Steamtown. But they're pulling nothing but covered hopper cars. It's going downhill a little bit too, so they're kind of coasting. Yeah, this is a short train, and there's Fred on the back, flashing rear end device. Since we're documenting rail history today, I called in a favor and told them to roll through to show you what the train would look like coming through this area. If only I had those kind of connections. Instead of backtracking the way we came, which was a terrible climb through of the vines and thorns, I'm going to go down the other end. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, I'm going to find a way down the other end. So we're going to get down there, check out that pier. Ah, diesel. Smells good. Fun little catch there. Well, that area was a heck of a lot easier to come down than the way I went up. So looking at it from here, you can see this left side is all large cut stone blocks. Then you can see the indentation there of where we were standing to watch the train go by. And then concrete on the other side over there. So it is a mixture of construction elements. Not sure if the concrete is added to kind of shore it up or to serve as retention. But it appears, and I think I was correct to begin with, that maybe it crossed over on that lip up there in that diagonal part, that there may have been the braces and supports or beams and went over the top of that. If it didn't, then it went over on the top right there. So that's the only thing I can confirm based on what you've seen. Maybe you could shed some details as to what you think. But now we have this one here. I'm going to do a full walk around. I'll show you scale of it compared to me. And people have definitely been on top because it's tagged up there. Either they're like Spider-Man, or they brought a ladder, or had some other means of getting up there. So this is not a true abutment. It's more or less a support column because it would have kept going across. So I guess there would have been an abutment over there, which we may or may not find. This is completely frozen solid. But coming around the other side, well, I now know how people got up on top. There's almost like a stone wall staircase. So I think we should maybe try to venture up there. Yeah, it's more or less steps for the Jolly Green Giant. There are some big climbs to make, but I think I could do it. Don't want to risk filming while I'm doing it and dropping the camera, so I'm going to put you guys away, and I will see you up top. Almost at the top, but this is the worst part. Because up to here is pretty easy, but now there's a big gap between where I'm standing on top of here. And on both sides of it, it just drops off. Not trying to make it dramatic, but it's messed with me a little bit. But I think it's worth it based on what I see. And I'm kind of wishing I was up here when the train came by. It would have been one heck of a view. There's a step here, but it's underneath this slab right here. So when I lean up, it's going to push my leg out. Oh, this is going to be even harder getting down. I need something to grab onto. I can't get my leg up. Where the hell is the ground? I don't know if I could do it. I'm starting to doubt myself. I think I'll just show you from here. This is what I was explaining. See, there's a big crumbly section here. I'm able to get my foot there as a step, but when I try to lean over, I have nothing to push off of or grab onto. I just started doubting myself. So from here, we can see the top of this abutment. And looking at it, it is similar to the other side, as there is that jagged wall right there. And that's where I'm confused if the train went over that or if it came over here. So I'll leave it up to you guys who are familiar with the railroad aspects of things and let me know, did it cross over the upper walls there or on the lower flat section? Regardless though, it is nothing more than just a solid concrete column. There's a piece of metal over there on the end. It is tagged up. People do get up here. I just lack confidence when it comes to heights, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just thought I could do it when it came down to it at the very end. It's not the first time where I came so close but didn't make it, so I just rather play it safe. I'm by myself. One slip here and you're literally going to be going to the hospital, if not even worse, on both sides of it. So it's not very forgiving to fall off of here. But at least we know what it looks like on top. I didn't see any dates. The one thing is that we can 100% confirm, I'm actually gonna mark myself on Google Maps of where we are, that this is 100% one of those bridges that I saw in the 1939 map and even the 1960 map that did exist, where rails did come across here over the active line. So this is one of two bridges we hope to find. We found remnants of it. We need to go in that direction because there's a trail going through, which may be the old rail line. There might be something left of the bridge that crossed over the river. If not, I'll at least show you where it happened. But I should be able to at least get over to that location. Let me pull myself up here. Yep, there I am standing right next to the wall. So we have solid confirmation that this is indeed that bridge that we saw in the older maps. At least what's left of it. All right, I'm gonna safely get back down, get back to where I'm comfortable, and we'll press onwards through the woods there and hopefully get there sooner than later. Funny thing is, side note, this was supposed to be a What Is It Wednesday video. When he told me about it, and I looked on the maps, I'm like, oh, it's not that much to cover, you know, I should be able to keep the video under 15 minutes. After I started thinking about it and finally arriving here in location, realizing how far I have to walk, I'm glad I decided not to do that, because if I tried to do this in under 15 minutes, we would have missed so much. So although this is a lengthier video, it's for good reason, because there is more and more that we're finding and discovering and learning about this place. So it turned out to be a more lengthier video, but that's not a bad thing when we actually have things to discover. You know, I did forget to tell you what I think the height is. Height-wise, from the bottom to the top, and when I say the top, that ledge right there, I would say close to 20 feet, maybe between 20 and 25. To the top wall up there, definitely 25. Can't tell the true bottom, so it may be a couple of feet taller than that. Lengthwise, from end to end, there's someone walking back here. I would say from the very bottom to the very bottom, maybe 40, 50 feet. How are we doing? A little bit. Picked up this trail. We're veering away from the backside of that column. And it looks like there is no abutment wall over here. So I'm wondering if maybe there would have been another one of these columns further back, or this landscape may have been built up higher back in the day where it was level at the back of that. So that could have been an abutment wall at one time, or it could have been one of maybe a couple support columns. We may or may not figure that out, but we're heading in this direction, back towards the corner near the Lackawanna River, and we should hopefully find something resembling of a bridge that did cross over there as well. Well, I do have some good news. Made my way through the woods off the path that we were on, and I decided to use my technology that I had on me, which is my smartphone. So moving just off the trail a little bit to where we are now, I was able to confirm that we are walking where the old line used to go. It crossed over that bridge that we just checked out, came through here, and it was indeed the line that we want to follow, the New York, Ontario, and Western Railroad that came over that bridge, the same lines that were at that storage yard area through the woods that we started out with. So it came through this direction here, and I also used Google Earth phone app, and they actually updated it recently where you could actually pull up the timeline on there. So I was able to go back to 1992 to show my position and what it looked like. You can see the remnants of the rail bed there, and then fast forwarded to 2023 where it's overgrown and really lush, just to show you how it looks in modern day. So we are going to keep pressing forward, and this should take us right out to the river where the tracks would have crossed over. And I do want to see if there's any type of bridge abutment there or anything signifying that the tracks did cross over. But once we do arrive there, I will confirm my locations once again on both the Rail Guide app and on Google Earth. Came to a little clearing here. Looks like someone's been here. Maybe doing some target shooting. Oh, look it, I just almost missed it. There is a rail tie. Okay, so we're definitely on the right track. Okay, I think we are nearing our destination, and I do see a few things up ahead confirming that. So this is another trail here. This is not the rail line. And now when I show that on Rail Guide, that's an approximate. It may be off to the left or right, maybe 10 feet, but we're in the right area. So there's nothing over here that I can see. I'm going to double check that though. But there's definitely something on the other side. I want to come up to this clearing right here and see what that looks like. But what I saw is down a little bit further. Like they're hanging out on that little icy island. All right, so as we come down near the water's edge, we're going to be greeted with our solid confirmation. Looks like a popular fishing area. But at one time, trains did cross here because there is another abutment wall. So we have solid evidence that this is where the line did cross the river. And there's no abutment on this side, only on that side. Now that area, I'm not going to bother tracing or following because I did previously when I mentioned I returned to the colliery site, which is just off in that direction. There is a recycling center nearby. The colliery area was right by there where there was a lot more tracks. And I believe the recycling center is still serviced by train. There's still a spur line going to it. So I had no need to go over there. I did document a bunch of abutment walls and the colliery site on a previous video or two. So again, they will be linked down below. But I'm going to pull myself up on GPS, Google Earth, and Rail Guide to confirm we are indeed standing on the exact spot. Oh, we got some curious onlookers here. So as you can see with the screenshots I'm showing, we are 100% on target in front of the river on the other side of that abutment wall. Nothing over here. The landscape has been altered significantly. You really can't even tell that train tracks came through here. I do believe though, based on the height of the lip of that wall, well, two things actually. One is, according to the Rail Guide app, it shows the line going over the right half of that abutment wall on the lower side, the lower lip. So that may tell us the answers we were looking for before. Do the trains go over the upper wall or the lowest flatter part? According to the Rail Guide app, again, it's not 100% accurate. It's off by a few feet. It shows it going over that lower section right there. The other thing is that that area is higher than what's over here, you can see we're considerably lower than where that would have been. That's roughly the same height as the other abutment wall or column that we tried to climb up on top of. So this landscape has been brought down or altered. Another possibility is there could have been maybe a type of wooden trestle coming through here. I don't think that's the case. I think the tracks were on land, on the ground. I think this has just been altered over time, whether it's from the river or from man, but it's definitely much lower than it needs to be to cross the abutment walls. The other thing I noticed too is that this line, New York, Ontario, and Western, crossed over here and kept going right past the old colliery site, which is now the Lackawanna Recycling Center. So as far as I could tell, this particular line that we traced here didn't service the colliery from this line. Looks like the colliery site was serviced by D&H, Delaware and Hudson. On the map images from different views, it shows where the Lackawanna Recycling Center is now and where the building is. There was numerous tracks there, and there where the breaker colliery site was, numerous tracks there. It was a heavily used area with rails that was serviced for the colliery site back in the day. So although these areas are all interconnected and intermingled, and we saw 3 different companies right next to each other, this one though that we traced that had the most significance to me based on the viewer suggestion and recommendation just bypassed the colliery site and just kept heading, I believe, south. There's something else right there, just the random piece of steel. I do have a long trek back to where I started, and it's a cold day, but I'll tell you what, I had so much fun documenting this today. Despite there not being any, okay, I know where we are now. We're back to where I brought you aboard saying we're standing on the line. Did like a big loop. Despite us not finding the rails themselves, we definitely found evidence of where they were. The telegraph poles, that old 3-post signal standing up along the rails, that fallen down larger signal tower, and then seeing the bridge abutments and catching a train, which was a nice little bonus as well. It really brought it all together for one really enjoyable journey. To the average, everyday, ordinary person, the things we checked out today, or I should say the area we checked out, looks like nothing to them. Just woods, trails, maybe some random items that they may or may not know what it is. But to me, and people like you who enjoy this type of stuff, we can identify and relate and enjoy and appreciate what it is today. Remnants, ruins, and history from the past. And I'm walking ever so cautiously on this ice. Kind of bummed I didn't make it up on top of there, but I think it was for the best. When you get nervous, you start making mistakes, and next thing you know, you're in the hospital. But as I explained, this is a large diagonal abutment support, and I keep saying abutment. I don't think this is a true abutment, but I can't rule it out. I think it's more or less a column or support where the rail still wouldn't cross this way, but the land is much lower. So there's conflicting things that I don't really understand or that don't make sense to me. Like that's much higher than the land we just came from. But yet we saw, you know, a tie back there, and we saw at least the trail according to the map, but the landscape is just so much lower compared to the abutment wall across the river, and especially this one. And I'm thinking it crossed over on this side here, the lower side, and then on the other wall over there, where we stood to watch the train, I think it would have crossed over as well on, oh man, this ice is so slippery. I think it would have crossed over somewhere right there on that lower, flatter side. Regardless, if you don't answer all those questions, that's okay with me. We are still documenting the past, bringing it to life in modern day here, 2025. And we did answer the question is there anything left today? Well, there definitely is. Not as much as I was hoping, but better than nothing. And it's all part of the journey, as many viewers do appreciate. Not necessarily the destination or what you may find, but just getting out, exploring, covering the woods, documenting the rails, and even that little culvert there that we're approaching was a neat little find as well. So definitely not a loss by any means. I'm sure if we came 1 or 2 decades ago, it would have been a different picture back here. But regardless, this stuff, as I say, is not going to last forever. So it's documented. And thanks to the viewer who did reach out to me and recommend this location, because it definitely did not disappoint. I just didn't know what to expect. And it definitely turned into much more of a lengthier video, but for good reason. But I'm starting to get a little chilly now. Nose is running like a sieve. And I'm getting a bit hungry. So I'm going to trek it back. I got probably half mile to go. And then I will be off to document my next adventure and journey. Take care. Thanks for watching once again. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.